Iftikhar bhai, would you like to go over that? How did you come to the Quran? Please keep in mind that we want to share our thoughts that how did we, each one of us, came to the Quran.
Sure, Gigi. Shall I be the first one?
Yes, please.
Okay, Gigi. Thank you. First of all, if I may mention that usually you are taught whatever faith you or religion you happen to be born in by your parents. Unfortunately, at the age of 10, I lost the company of my parents, my family, and ended up in England. So had to find my own kind of path and move on. I was introduced to Islam at the age of about 17 by some converts. That intrigued an interest in me that how come these people left a good life, according to me at that time as a teenager. You can't drink, you can't have girlfriends or go to discos or so on. And they've converted to Islam. So I started to study Islam as such and became very religious. Spent most of started, staying in the mosques, praying salat, and grew a long beard, a turban, gave up wearing the usual dress, and became very sincere in it for a good 3 to 4 years, until there were a very serious incident in Lebanon, I think in 2 refugee camps over one night. I think it's Sabira and Shatila, the name of the camps. They're so clear in my mind. Over 500 human beings were slaughtered in one night. And that kind of shook me. I couldn't work out how this is possible, that these people were Muslims just like me, praying and following Allah's guidance, and they lost their lives. They had no defense. And Allah obviously knows all this, so Allah allowed it to happen. These were the thoughts that I couldn't get answer to. And a gentleman I used to work for, he was studying to be a barrister, gave me a little book which was in Urdu written by Parvez. And until the 4th Jamaat, I was in Pakistan, and I could barely read and write Urdu. I took that home, studied it, I just couldn't put it away, went to my local imam, my sheikh, my guide, and I said, Imam Sahib, you must read this book. I think I know the answers, what happened. There's a reason. We need to provide protection for ourselves through understanding the laws of Allah. It literally answered my questions that I could not get answers to. Obviously, Imam Sahib looked at the book, the title, put it away and said, son, sit down. He used to sit on the floor and started to tell me that this is the wrong people, don't go near them, forget about it. And I said, Khwaja Sahib, his name was Khwaja Mustanir Ahmed. And I said, Khwaja Sahib, but you haven't even read it. And you're telling me to, I said, have you read it? He said, no, I haven't read it and I'm not going to read it. Just forget about it. It affects your iman. These were his kind of words. Anyhow, to cut the story short, the gentleman who gave me the book, I asked him, everyone I speak to, they said, don't go near these people. Stay away from them. My friends, by then I had joined Tablighi Jamaat. I would go visit different cities and spend time. Everyone basically started saying to me, leave this book, don't go, So I said to the gentleman, I'm confused. Either this gentleman is a fraud or what to make of it. But the content makes sense. They are rational, they explain, and if a human being or a nation actually adapts these values and lives by them, they will be, very strong, and they can live good lives. We decided, I said to them, Mr. Khan who gave me the book, I actually need to see this person in action, because the story people tell me are horrendous. I can't, make sense what's going on. So I saved a bit of money. We traveled to Pakistan. He traveled from Multan. I was in near Gujarat. So we met up in Lahore, spent the hotel a night in Lahore. In the morning on Friday, we attended the dars, and this gentleman, Mr. Khan, after the talk in Urdu, took me to Parvez Sahab and said, this young man has come to see you from London. Me, Parvez Sahab and myself, face to face, sat on one side. I was probably early 20s. I can't say exact, maybe 22, 23. I asked a few questions. I said to Parvez Sahab, my Urdu is really very weak. I can barely read, but I can read some. Haven't you got any books in literature? How come your book for literature is not in English? And he actually explained to me that, son, I don't go out asking donations. I'm sort of a one-man band. These are my own words, but he explained that, and whatever I can do, I am doing. But if you think they should be in English, or somebody else thinks that they should be in English, no one will stop you. At that time, the only book in English was Islam, A Challenge to Religion. So what I did, I bought that, Islam, A Challenge to Religion, and quite a large quantity of books in Urdu. Came back to England. The first reaction of those books, soon as I brought them at home, and my mother didn't know what was going on and so on, she was an elderly lady and illiterate as well. So I had a brother-in-law who was a solicitor, practicing in Gujarat. He saw the books, and he told my family, your son has lost his faith. He's gone astray. And I was taken back a bit, what can I say to him? And I didn't know what he meant or so on, but he spread this about me, that your son's lost his faith and so on. And my mother really got worried. Anyhow, I got the books, came back to England, and basically I had small children, I think 3 at the time. We would put them to sleep, my wife would be asleep, and I would literally just come out of bed, not to disturb them, go to the next room, and I would study till early hours of the morning. I just could not put the books away. And there were a couple of occasions where I never went back to bed, had my breakfast, and then went to work in the morning. That was the intensity of my yearning for the knowledge. And after studying a few big books, literally I would weep and make du'as that Allah, I will work day and night, get some means together for this cause, and do whatever I can, to really help to understand, have a better understanding, and then to pass on the message. And that's the journey. Never looked back. All my friends left me that I used to be part of, and they would say, "Hum aapke liye, we can only say prayers for you now." And I would clearly say to them, I said, really, honestly, don't waste your time. I'm okay. I feel very happy. I don't need your prayers to save me. All right. Once I was back, obviously I wanted to meet up people who were, like-minded or share. And then as you read books, then I realized in the books that there was something called a bosom where people can come together, share knowledge or listen to the videos and talks. So then I found out that Mr. Farad in Ilford, Essex, would, or they used to hold meetings around there. And although they were stopped at that time, but I could go there, have access to books if I need to get some more books and so on. So then I called Mr. Farad and went over there, um, uh, bought books, and we started to develop a little network. But then going on to my family, my wife Rubina, because she was pretty good in Urdu, so the books were there, and I explained to her my own journey, and she took, as the saying goes, like duck to water. She said, this is how I always used to think, that these things don't make sense. This is a book of instruction, and we are reading it for sawab. Allah is asking us to do or be in a certain way, but we are just taught the other way. And she very frankly studies a lot more. She's made a much bigger effort in studying because she had a little bit more time, but she dedicated herself to study much more. And then that has had a huge role bringing up our family, on the children. She would sit them from very early age and explain to them that Allah actually is looking, is listening. So I may not be around as a mother, but be assured that anything you do or are up to, there are consequences, and Allah is aware. The laws of Allah are working, and I played a role, but she played a much bigger role in their upbringing and understanding. And as I've said many times, personally, I genuinely feel whatever that Jannah may be in the future, I kind of feel and see the glimpse of it, when I come home, the love, the genuineness, the attention I get, the harmony and the care between the siblings, the respect and being there for one another. That alone sort of is witnessing that these values hold weight. Even, we are not perfect, but the little that we know and practice within us as a family, there's no replacement for it. Yes, you become slow when you're not connected with like-minded people. Your batteries can run low, but never ever, oh, this can't happen, or so on. No, you see, because I've got my personal life to look from where I was, the mindset I had, the means that I had, and when I started on this journey, the truthfulness, the boldness, the fearlessness has turned my life so much around. I have so much trust around me, even in the wider friends of circle. Non-Muslim, for example, I have 2-3 other partners that I work with. They trust me. It's not they trust the values that I hold dear. So, to me personally, there is nothing else on this planet to live or die for than the values of the Quran. Just to say it in a nutshell. I have a lot of family in America, New York particularly, and they know how I am, how helpful I am. I'm very giving, even at whatever cost. And so I was sitting in a gathering with lots of my nieces and nephews in New York, and one of my nephews had the courage, and it took him a little time, and he said, "Mamu, can we ask you a question if you don't mind?" And I said, "Yeah, sure. I don't mind at all. Whatever you want to ask me, feel free, and just go ahead and ask." And it was his father who actually spread the misinformation about me, that I have lost my faith. So this nephew was his son. And he said, "We've heard that you have become Qadiani, and you've joined Qadiani, and you've become Qadiani and Mirzai." And I actually laughed for a good few minutes. And I said, "Well, first of all, tell me, how did you got to that conclusion?" And he said, "It's our father who told us a long time back." And he also said, "We know, you're such a decent person. You're there for everyone. You've helped the family so much, and so on, so on, so." But I just wanted to clarify, is that the case? And then I obviously explained to him about the history of Tolu Islam and Allama Iqbal, and who set it up, and then Pervez Sahib carried it on, and Muqaddimah Bahawalpur, and so on. But sadly, if his father couldn't tell the difference, who was a qualified lawyer in Pakistan and practicing, didn't make the effort to know the difference between Tolu Islam and Qadianis, I can't expect this young man to know, who grew up in New York, But basically, Baijan, this Quran has made me rich in every sense of the word. And I genuinely look at it and I say to my friends, if someone can present me a better form of living than the Quran, I will happily leave it. But I always say that I don't think there is a better explanation of our life, a purpose of our life. So until then, I am sticking to it. We have no alternative. There is no alternative. I only went to school in England for 2.5 years, from the age of 13 to 15 and a half. So when I left school, I could not read or write English properly. And so I actually had to make quite an effort to understand whether it was being read in Urdu or English, because I had no formal education. So I would say I'm a self-taught person, and this understanding, or my mindset that the Quran has helped to develop, it's amazing. I sit around with highly intellectual people because of my one of my ex-partners, who's a barrister, currently a judge as well. And when you sit around and you have a conversation, so many people say to me, that they praise, and they think, "Oh, what university did you go to? What did you study?" And when I tell them that I have no formal education, they're taken back with it. And that credit goes to the Book of Allah. There is no other explanation. It it really elevates you from wherever you start your journey. Of course, if I was a university graduate, my understanding would be probably even much, much higher, possibly. But even someone who had no parents to guide what is right and wrong, or what are values, no form of education, I was free to live life as I wished. And as I say, which I did, study basic Islam, then became a Maulvi, more or less. And people at that time would, because I was so sincere, even in my traditional Islam, generally people would ask me, yeah, even at a very early age, I still remember, oh, which college did you study Islam, or so on? Which school did you go to study Islam? Because my outlook was quite impressive, and if you do whatever you're doing with sincerity, it has an added value, you know. So if this can be done to someone of my background, who was really made a home servant for about nearly 3 years in London in his early age, then comes the Quran. Usually people say children who are abused, they become abusers, or they, are broken homes and so on. So I am happy to say you can come from any background, any situation. If you can be introduced to this amazing book of Allah, it has the full power to turn you around and bring back the potentials that you may have lost or were about to lose. It's that powerful by then. It's literally that powerful, you know. Thank you.